and fun. And by A1 Steak Sauce. A1, it's how steak is done. In one of the highest scoring tournaments on the PBA Tour this year, rookie Jay Burgess out of Houston, Texas has qualified for the championship round for the first time in his career. His opponent in the opening game will be 32-year-old Curtis Odom of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. This year's Firestone Tournament of Champions champ Dave Ferraro is settled in the middle of the pack, while the Wichita Open defending champion Amleto Monacelli will be trying to make it 2 in a row. And of course, on the top of the field after 42 games this week and looking for his first title since 1987, it's Walter Ray Williams Jr. And welcome everyone to beautiful Northrock Lanes, located in Wichita, Kansas, for the championship round finals of the $130,000 Wichita Open. Hi everybody, I'm Denny Schreiner, and welcome to the air capital of the world, Wichita, Kansas. And this week the professionals providing the standing room only crowds with 8 300 games. That's right, the scores were high. Took 222 just to make it to the top 24. And while we're on the subject of 300 games, working with me once again, Hall of Famer Mike Durbin had 15 in his career. Mike, the top 3 tonight are as good as you can get.
I certainly think they are, Denny. In third place, we have Dave Ferraro, an outstanding player from Kingston, New York. He's won 5 times. Earlier this year, I think he reached the pinnacle of his young career when he won the Firestone Tournament of Champions. And in second place, Amleto Monacelli, the reigning PBA Player of the Year. He's won 7 times. He's the defending champion here. He's already bowled 2 300s this week, looking for number 3 tonight. And our tournament leader, Walter Ray Williams Jr., the 1986 PBA Player of the Year. In 86 and 87, he won 5 times, but he hasn't won since. He bowled 300 in this event. He may need that tonight because he's 0-7 from the top spot, Denny.
Mike, those top 3 players have accumulated over $2 million in prize money. And, of course, at the bottom of the stack this week, it's Curtis Odom and Jay Burgess. They're both looking for their first title.
And Curtis Odom is a strong young player. He's waiting to explode. He's going to win one of these weeks. Jay Burgess, it's his first championship round appearance. We don't know what he's going to do.
Scores were high all week. We'll find out if a 300 game may be on tap here this evening, perhaps number 9 on the tournament. We'll be back with the opening match. Curtis Odom and Jay Burgess, the PBA on ESPN, coming up next. Welcome back to Northrock Lanes in Wichita, Kansas for the championship round of the $130,000 Wichita Open. Jay Burgess, Curtis Odom. First good look at Jay Burgess. This is only his 6th professional event. First time he'd ever made the finals. First time ever in the championship round.
I talked to him. I said, well, how do you feel? He says, I'm just going to try and have fun.
Wastes little time, goes up, throws a strike, and he'll be yucking it up before the night's over if he continues to strike like that.
This game must be easy, huh, Dan?
Well, you told me your first ever appearance you threw a strike.
Yeah, but that was the only one.
Then you were lambasted by Nelson Burton Jr.
Yeah, lambasted is right.
Really an outstanding young pro, Curtis Odom, who has been knocking on the door of his first PBA title throughout the last couple of years. 6th appearance overall in the championship round, and he can't shake loose the 7-pin.
Well, it's a professional shot. That first shot didn't crowd it high, made sure he kept it light. Leaves only the 7-pin, averaged 227 this week. He was the qualifying leader. He averaged over 230 for his first 18 games. So he found Northrock Lanes to his liking all week long.
Randy Peterson came out of the gates and averaged 253 for the first 6 games this week. So the crowds on hand got a chance to watch the pros throw some strikes.
Curtis developed his style as a teenager when he held the ball down. And I guess we're not going to get a look at it, but I talked to him earlier and I said, how did you develop that style with no push away? He said, well, when I was a teenager, I had held the ball up and I wasn't bowling too good. I put it down like this and shot 586, and that was it. It settled it forever for him.
All right, so obviously doesn't change ball position very much. Easy to get it into the swing quickly, though, and it's right in that position. An aggressive shot on the left-hand lane and a nice one on lane 31. So Odom with a soft 7 to start things comes back with a solid strike in the second.
And it appears already that on the championship pair that lane 31 moves a little bit more than 32. So we'll see what kind of adjustment that Jay Burgess can make on lane 32. See if he can get out of the gate with a double.
former second-team All-American performer out of West Texas State. And I don't know if he made an adjustment or not, but that one was right dead center on the nose.
Well, it's the lane's tighter. He wanted to make sure that he didn't give it too much room, and he just yanked on it a little bit more and right through the nose and 4-6-7.
Obviously, Curtis Odom saying to himself, you know, I know Jay has to be very nervous, so if I come out and just get the job done, I should have a little bit of an edge experience-wise.
Well, what Curtis wants to do is get ahead of him early, and Jay's made that easy by opening in the second frame. And we see Curtis Odom strike on the left lane. 18 miles per hour at 15 feet, down to 17.2 at 45 feet. Not much belly. About a half a board there.
First good look at our Brunswick Boulder track. Freeze frame, give you an idea of where the players are playing in the lanes here this evening. The speed of the ball at 15 and 45 feet. Speed looked pretty good on that shot. So Burgess bounces back with a strike in the third after the miscue in the second frame.
Well, he's just more relaxed on the left lane because he knows he can swing it wide and it'll come back. Of course, I always used to get lockjaw when I had a strike up too, or lock hand, whatever.
Right now, a double would put Odom up by 22.
Light the first time, wanted to make sure he got it up there. Looks like the right lane is the one the players are going to have to conquer tonight.
Let's take a look now as far as Jay Burgess is concerned. His first strike, or I should say a strike in the third here on the left-hand lane.
And we see that he's starting out at almost 18 miles per hour. It drops about a little over a mile per hour down.
At the 3-6 cross lane, 3-pin taken right off the 6. So both players have opened up here in the first 3 frames.
And Curtis not using his experience to good advantage there, letting Jay Burgess right back in the match. And now we've got a tight match. He could have really opened up the lead with a double. See how he holds the ball down, pushes and steps. It's into the swing immediately. Carries it here. His head's very steady. Short backswing, which means usually that the player's very accurate. Comes up after the ball is gone. Boy, he's right up on the toe.
This one goes high, and then he waves goodbye to the 3-6. And we'll be back with more of game number 1. Curtis says, geez, I elbowed that one a little bit, but I got away with this. We'll be back with more right after this.
30 Eastern live on ESPN.
Nothing but strikes since we left. Burgess came back with a double. He now has 3 in a row, and then Odom strikes in the 5th for a double right back, and Curtis leads by 10.
And Curtis taking advantage of that good break he got in the 4th frame, making a quality shot right about the 7th board, bellies it out to maybe the 3rd, dead flush, all 10 pins in the pit. And there you see the score. Curtis can tie it with 1 more strike. Leaving a lot of room. Boy, that 6 leaned on the 10 but didn't knock it over.
Good shot that time by Odom, but comes up with the soft 10 and now trails in the opening match.
Starts off at 18.3, drops about 9/10 of a mile, about a 2-board belly between 15 feet and 45 feet.
Started at the 8 board, went out to 6. And it's a spare up for Odom. An 11-pin lead for the rookie from Houston, Texas, Jay Burgess, who said, if I do anything well, let's probably shoot my spares.
Well, you better not run over the 25 seconds.
Out nearly into the channel, and he comes back. So Burgess has strung together 4 consecutive strikes and leads now by 21.
And he seems to be getting looser with each successive shot there, Dan. Jay, a 5-step player. Right here. Falls slightly early here. See the backswing. The feet catch up in time. There's the pivot step. Now the slide. Pretty solid at the foul line right there, Dan.
Interesting. You see how fast that ball went back in his swing? Watch. He doesn't move it for the first step and a half, and then it's back to his waist. Oh.
Something's bothering his concentration. I don't know what it is.
First time ever in the championship round. And leaves the 2-8, so the jitters continue.
Well, I don't know if it's the jitters or something's happening down there that is distracting Jay, but he's mentioning it over here to the tournament director, John Campos. 2-8, not an easy spare. He says the strength of his game is shooting spares. Let's see. Boy, something's bothering him again.
Trying to hang in there, and the 2-pin off the 8, so it's an open for Jay Burgess, who right now is just trying to get adjusted to the championship round atmosphere.
It appears that's the situation. Oh, a fly was bothering.
What else could happen, huh? Fly making its first ever appearance in the championship round.
Right.
Curtis Odom not going to even think about anything but hitting the pocket, and he comes back with a crushing strike in the 7th, trails by 7, and X here, and he goes up in the match.
That's a shame that, you know, Jay's got 4 in a row, and the fly comes and bothers him, and then at 2-8, and he missed it. Oh.
Out there just trying to concentrate, and of course in that atmosphere too, you're not really sure if you should stop and explain it to the tournament director. I mean, you're pretty much just trying to get up and bowl.
Well, right, we do have the 25-second clock as we see the scoreboard here. Curtis down by 7. We can take the lead with a strike, and he has to get that shot off within 25 seconds, and the tournament director can restart it if there is a distraction, but he may not see the fly.
Well, then you have to explain to him that it's out there?
I would.
Well, I would too. Odom for the lead, crosses over, and it just might be Curtis's night. Gives himself a no-brainer look, but he'll take the Brooklyn strike and the lead.
Well, his last 2 doubles, in fact, his only 2 doubles of this game, he's had fortunate breaks on the left lane. Carried that nosedive where the 3-6 fell, and he now gets the Brooklyn. Jay Burgess trails by 3. Nice shot. Ooh. Oh, fast 8. The 2-pin flies right over the 4-7. Still in this match. Needs to make his first spare of the game. Says spares are his strength of his game, but he's yet to have one. And this is the 8th frame. Hard and straighter at the 4-7, no trouble. Needs his foundation strike here, Den.
If not, his chances for a win here in the opening game will be flying out the window.
Literally.
Double for Odom, as you said. He's been very fortunate with a re-rack in the 8th. Still went Brooklyn.
Well, he said he played the rack right, see.
You mean he didn't like the second one?
I don't know. I mean, that's what I always used to say when I got to Brooklyn. I picked the right rack.
Okay. Right now, Jay Burgess just trying to put up a strike in the 9th to let Curtis know that he's still alive. He goes through the nose, leaves the 3-6, and it was an excellent start for the youngster from Houston, Texas, but a problem with distraction, and ever since the 7th frame, he just hasn't been the same player.
Right. Just definitely unnerved him, and he hasn't got his composure back together yet. Doesn't look too uptight, though, does he?
Sure doesn't, but there you see him looking over in the corner of his eye to the score, trying to figure out how far he's ahead. He knows he's up. He also knows he's working on a double, and if he strikes here in the 9th, could increase the lead to 15. He's also in an excellent position to shut the match out here if he gets the job done in the 10th.
Well, if you strike here in a good count and a mark in the 10th, and he will shut him out.
And if he does, he'll move on to bowl the current Firestone Tournament of Champions champ, Dave Ferraro.
Can't throw anything better than that.
Curtis kind of leaned in at the foul line, knew that he really had put the label on that shot.
Up by 15 pins right now. Curtis playing right around the first arrow. Good firm speed, swings it out to about the third board. There's the result.
It's been a fortunate game thus far for Curtis Odom. He's made a couple of errant tosses and gotten away with them with strikes. Better speed here on the left-hand lane. Beautiful shot there. Well, apparently, if you don't keep the speed up, you've got trouble on 31.
Right. Just need to keep it on the lane, and he's a winner.
Possible 237 for Curtis Odom. Why do the pros always shake their head after they've thrown a strike? Sometimes I just don't understand. Is he saying I should have been doing that all along?
That's exactly what he's saying.
Okay.
He's saying, why didn't I trust it like that the other time?
Told me one of the reasons why he got to the championship round this week was because he really quickly summed up what he needed to do on each pair of lanes, and he made the quick adjustments.
Well, he seems to have made all the adjustments right now, but he's got that fly to thank for the 7th frame.
All right, I have to ask. Anything along those lines in your storied career? A bat, a bird?
No, nothing. Like
spiders?
That. Just 10 pins and 8 pins. Arachnophobia, no.
I see one of those. I'm going the other way. Curtis Odom with a 210, but doesn't make any difference to him. He shoots 235 in game number 1, and he will advance as Jay Burgess, making his first ever appearance in the championship round, will finish up 5th. Excellent young player with a very bright future on the PBA Tour. Says he wants to come out full time, and I would venture to say that that will happen for this nice young man out of Houston, Texas. We'll be back with game number 2. Curtis Odom and Dave Ferraro right after our Average Builder segment.
I think all of us know what we're supposed to do with the arm that we throw the ball with. That is that we're supposed to have that free, straight pendulum arm swing. But what about the other arm? Well, probably most of us never even give it a thought, and it just kind of hangs there. Well, tonight I'd like to give you a couple suggestions on the position of that opposite arm, and I'll be speaking as a right-handed bowler, so you left-handers just turn it around. As I start my approach and take my first step, I have most of the weight of the bowling ball still in my left hand. As I let go with that left hand and the ball goes into the free swing, I take that left arm and gently point it toward the opposite wall of the bowling center. What this does is that my shoulders are now square to my intended target line. It also helps me to have a straighter, freer arm swing and improves my balance as I go through my approach. And this arm position works in the vast majority of lane conditions. But you may run into some lane conditions where you're absolutely forced to swing the ball or to throw it to the right in order to score, kind of like what we have here in Wichita tonight. And I have a little tip that might help you there too. As I start my slide, and my left arm is pointing toward the opposite wall of the bowling center, at this point I take my thumb and little finger and rotate them clockwise so that my palm is almost straight up here. What this does is it sends my left shoulder forward just a little bit and makes it much easier for me to throw the ball to the right, and it looks like this in a normal approach. Remember, as you push the ball away, gently move the left arm toward the opposite wall of the bowling center, and on conditions where you have to swing the ball, rotate your thumb and little finger clockwise. We'll see you again next week in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where we'll have another Average Builder.
Match number 2. Coming up in match number 2, Curtis Odom and Dave Ferraro in the Wichita Open. We'll be back with more after these messages. And after the opening round on ESPN in the PGA Championship, Bobby Watkins at 4 under par leads the field. Nick Faldo, Mike Durbin, shot 71. Very solid round for him today, -1. And don't forget, tomorrow, live coverage of the PGA Championship from Shoal Creek Country Club in Birmingham, Alabama on ESPN, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The rough is up. The scores are 2. And should be be an interesting conclusion to that one.
And ladies and gentlemen, this man is not playing at Shoal Creek, but he did win the Summit County Amateur and shot a record 66.
Yes, and he's yucking it up all the way. Look at this. Can you believe this? I had shorts. I was very hot that day. I can't believe these guys did this to me. But that
look at those legs.
That putt did go in. That was the 8th hole at Good Park Golf Course. Went in for a birdie from 15 feet. I appreciate that. It was a nice round, 66. Like to have that one every day, huh? Back to reality now, and Curtis Odom, match number 2. Odom and Ferraro.
Curtis fiddling with that thumb hole, trying to get the right feel.
Down on one knee, solid 10, and you can almost sense that Curtis is saying, okay, I got by Burgess, now I got
the major
Ferraro.
leagues, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Not that Jay isn't a quality player and everything, but he knows that he's got a tiger here.
Well, Odom with a very solid shot, finished strongly against Burgess as he eliminated Jay in the opening game, 235-202. Like he lost that one a touch, got away with it, and so it's a spare up for Odom in the opening frame.
All these players throw that ball straighter at the spares, though. They just don't have to have that super lift at the spares.
Firestone Tournament of Champions champ. Boy, takes out the 9, thankfully so. Much different approach here. He's playing in.
He did all week long. It really surprised me that Dave played much further left than the other players. 5-step player, holds the ball waist high, pushes it, heads very steady. Again, the short backswing, and watch no slide. Well, he did a little slide in there, but his heel goes down first as he makes the 4-pin.
All right, both players with spares in the first frame. Dave Ferraro narrowly missing the telecast last week. And last night shot 277 in the position round. Walked up to me afterward and said, I wanted to make sure I bowled better in the final game this week.
Wasn't going to miss it 2 weeks in a row. Yeah, he bowled very good in Wichita, or in Austin also.
Yes, he did. Said he's very sharp right now. Going to head up to Green Bay next week to compete in that LeMode Classic, and then that's probably it for the rest of the summer. Solid shot on the left-hand lane, so Ferraro, who's playing a little further in, appears to have a little more consistent approach.
Well, he appears to have what the bowlers would call hold, Denny. The ball's holding pocket for him just a little bit. 19 miles an hour, starting at the 12.5 board, bellying out to 9. That's on lane 31.
Boy, 19.2.
Boy, that's pretty good speed, 19.2 there.
Meanwhile, Curtis goes with a bit more of a circle-type shot. Result is the same, though, a strike in the second.
Well, you would think that Curtis's speed would be slightly slower because he's playing more where the lanes are dry, and when the ball hooks, it slows down in speed, Denny.
It doesn't get any easier. Defending champion Amleto Monacelli waiting in the wings, our number 2 seed, and Walter Ray Williams Jr., after averaging better than 230 this week, is numero uno.
Taking a lot of time. He's pushing that 25-second clock. Swings it way out. And it overreacted and hooked early. He just couldn't get that thumb to feel right in his hand. The grip was just not right.
Speed for Curtis just a fraction less than 18 miles per hour, so Ferraro has him in the mileage department.
At the 3-6, straight at it, has them both.
Of course, it would be a proven fact if you're hooking the ball more, it would have to roll out and probably slow down.
Well, it does. As it goes down the lane, it slows down some anyway with all of them. But we see there that it slowed down from 17.9 to 16.2. You can see that the ball was further left at 45 feet than it was at 15, indicating that he made an errant shot. And there's Ferraro starting it in further with more speed. Ooh, solid 10. So Dave comes out, almost leaves the 4-9, gets a flush strike and a solid 10.
What else is new?
And that's probably what he's saying in his mind. Who didn't know that?
I'll tell you what, you have to feel confident with the fact that you have a shot where you're able to execute and hit the pocket solidly on both lanes. You know sooner or later you're going to carry.
But the thought going through your mind is later could be after the game is over. When you're in that situation and your opponent struggles a little bit, you want to get out ahead of him right away. That was a chance to do it. The solid 10 stopped him.
Even Steven after 3 frames. $20,000 on top this week in Wichita. And it's been a terrific week for the professionals. Folks here in Wichita have done a superb job of hosting this event.
Outstanding year last year, 130,000. Boy.
And he didn't win a title, but he's already taken care of that this year. Once again, it's Flush City on lane 31. So Ferraro with a 4-pin and a 10-pin. At this point in time is even with Curtis Odom. And we'll be back with more of the Wichita Open from Northrock Lanes right after this timeout. Northrock Lanes, very popular guy here in the Wichita area. And while we were in commercial, Curtis Odom came back and went whack, whack, couple of strikes.
And we could see the ball just hold pocket on lane 32. 31, he swung it more. This is live action. Ferraro leaving the weak 10 this time.
4-9, solid 10, weak 10.
Here's Odom's second strike. Now watch how he bellies it out more. It's all the way out to maybe the second or third board. Boy, it looked good right here. He's just looking at the 10-pin, which went down last.
So down now 10 pins in the match. Dave Ferraro will have to try and maintain pace with a strike on 31. 32's been the problem.
And he knew that was going to be that way somewhat because he picked to finish on lane 31. That's his favorite. It's panned out so far, but all you can do is throw it in the pocket, Dan. You can't go down and kick him over.
Pinshu here falling in the background, being knocked down right now by Walter Ray Williams Jr. and Amleto Monacelli. They're just trying to loosen up, get ready here for the semifinal and for the finals. Well, 3 strikes on the left-hand lane and 3 taps on the right-hand lane. What it works out to be right now is a Dutch 200 game, which is not going to be enough.
Probably not. That was an interesting carry there. Where the 5-7-10 looked like it was up there for a heartbeat or so.
Odom with a re-rack now in the 6th, his first of the game. Dave Ferraro has already used up his supply.
Should tell the viewers that they're allowed 2 per game, and once you've used those 2, forget it. Boy, he fiddles with that thumb to get the right feels, like Tommy Baker. Tommy does that.
Takes him longer to get that thumb hole in there than it does for the entire approach. Oh my goodness. Curtis Odom just kind of rolling along, and he now has 3 in a row, and he's trying to jump all over Ferraro here at the midpoint. He leads by 20.
Well, if you get that feel right, this is the result. See how steady the head is. Right over the 6th board, out to about the 3rd. He's just looking to see if it's going to carry, which it did perfectly.
Last night, Curtis dropped from 2nd to 4th in the position round game. Most people would be upset. One guy said, geez, what are you going to do? He says, no problem. I'll just have a little more air time tomorrow night when I win a couple more matches.
That sounds confident, doesn't it?
Does to me.
Good speed.
He's asking it to come back. Asking ye shall receive. He's got 4 strikes in a row, and he's trying to take Ferraro out of this one right now.
And Ferraro's saying, asking ye shall receive the carry on this right-hand lane.
Well, David has bowled very nicely tonight and doesn't have much to show for it. It's not over yet, though. Not when you're playing against this customer. There, the 10-pin gets slapped out by the nonchalant 6.
Looked like he swung that one just a little bit more with a little less speed.
Key shot, I would think, here.
I was just going to say that, then. He's got to come back now and hit his good lane and put the pressure right back on Odom and cut the lead to 10. He can't re-rack. He's out of re-racks. Here it comes. That's a quality player there. I'll tell you what, come right back up there and say, hey, this is my good lane. It's automatic.
Oh, I loved your comment about Dave. You said, if I was ever trapped in the wilderness and there was one guy on the PBA Tour I could have out there with me, it would be Dave Ferraro.
He's just, you know, he's not going to panic under any situation.
leading by 10. Would like to make it 20 here in the 8th.
Here it comes. Boy, the players are getting zeroed in, Denny. Couple of taps, so we could have some real good games going this time, I'll tell you. Knocks it right back up to 20, and Curtis says, hey, there's no one out here that intimidates me anymore.
Hey, look at Ferraro, a 4-pin in the 1st and then 10 pins in the 3rd and the 5th. If he has any luck at all, he's thinking about a perfecto.
And both players, as Curtis takes his 2nd re-rack, are out of re-racks. Interesting, though, if Curtis doesn't strike here, Denny, he can be locked out.
Stood up on it a little bit. Oh, no, no, no. 7-pin wiggles, 10-pin hangs in there, and all Curtis can do is say, why me?
Take a look at it. We'll see if the head pin goes in front of the 7 and the 5-pin behind it, which happens so frequently. Falls off balance a little bit to the right, but he's saying, oh, rip him, rip him. And that's exactly what happened. The head pin went in front and the 5-pin went behind.
Trying to kick it out of the channel, out of the pit, will not work. And Curtis Odom really dealt a tough break there in the 9th frame. But Ferraro, now down by 6 pins, could take the lead.
And don't see anything terribly revealing on that shot. Will it carry? Yes.
Didn't waste any time. Marched right up and struck on the right-hand lane. So Ferraro leads by 4, and David wants to now turn the tables on Curtis Odom.
And basically the first one in the 10th and a decent count, and he's going to do just that. Amazing how it can change so quickly with one shot.
Dave Ferraro, throughout his career, this being his 22nd telecast, 16 and 16 in the championship round.
Trying to get above 500 now.
And above Curtis Odom. Big time speed kicks out the 4-pin, and the 10-pin stands, and Curtis now realizes he's still alive.
Curtis definitely has a chance to win. Has to step up in the 10th and throw 2 strikes, assuming that Dave is going to make this spare. There is still an outside possibility of a tie here, Dan.
That pitch from Ferraro over 19 miles an hour.
He wanted it a little bit faster because it crept high.
If you throw it harder, is there a tendency to pull the ball?
With some people, that's definitely the tendency. You reach back and try and pull it through harder, and you force it a little bit left. But a lot of times that added speed will hold it on line and in the pocket. Gets 8 pins here, and he's going to force Curtis Odom to double. 8 pins are better. Right there.
Well, a beautiful game bowled by Dave Ferraro. Win, lose, or draw. Did not miss the pocket and shoots 229. Now the burning question is, will it be enough to move on to the semifinal game?
Curtis going through his regimen of fidgetiness.
Would you spell that, please?
Smart guy.
Right now, Curtis trying to zero in and strike on 32 to keep his hopes alive.
It's there. Can't throw it any better than that, Denny.
All Dave Ferraro can do is watch the replay and hope that this one isn't a carbon copy.
He knows he's going to hit the pocket. He's just hoping he leaves something. Strike at 4 pins. That tells the story.
Curtis at this point trying to relax, get the heart rate back down, just make another shot.
And Denny, this is what professional bowling is all about. The ones that they can respond to this challenge are the ones that go on and win tournaments, and the ones that don't many times wind up in the broadcasting booth.
Good speed. Oh my goodness. Curtis Odom comes from behind victory, and Ferraro realizes, hey, I bowled as well as I could. I just got beat.
And he realizes that there's a player that stepped up and responded to the challenge and made just 2 super shots. And he says, hey, I respect that. I just love Dave Ferraro. I think he is a classy individual. Right down the middle. He's not going to fool around with anything.
So the fans here in Wichita are responding to a resurgent Curtis Odom. Dave Ferraro finishes 4th, and that man right there isn't finished yet. We'll be back with more from Wichita right after this look, of course, at the bowling news. Pizza Hut's Bowling News. And welcome back, everyone, to Northrock Lanes, located in Wichita, Kansas, for this week's edition of the Bowling News. Aside from the PBA money standings, an excellent barometer for measuring success out here on the PBA National Tour are the individual averages of the professionals. Let's now look at the top 10 here in 1990. This week's Wichita Open defending champion Amleto Monacelli is still #1, knocking down nearly 219 pins per game. And when you consider the fact that the pros bowl on a different pair of lanes every game without practice shots, in a different bowling center every week, and on the most challenging of lane conditions possible, anything 215 or above is an outstanding average. Mark McDowell of Madison, Wisconsin is now #6 on the list, while two-time PBA champion Robert Lawrence, along with Del Ballard Jr., Dave Ferraro, and consistent Dave Husted round out the top 10 in the high average department. Another important group of average lists are the ones that are compiled in the annual American Bowling Congress Championships. Between George Pappas and Earl Anthony, they have now held down the top honors on the lifetime ABC average list since 1984. Non-pro Don Cook is the leader in the 10-year average race, while Wichita's own Mark Jensen has outperformed everyone on the 5- and 4-year lists. And, of course, one of the most outstanding and sensational marks has been provided by Mike Newman. Over the past couple of years, he is averaging nearly 241. And I'd like to give some special recognition right now to a pair of ABC Hall of Famers, Dick Weber and also Joe Norris. Now, Weber has competed in 43 ABC championships through the years. His average is 202. He ranks 8th on the all-time list. Joe Norris, the ageless wonder, though, has competed 61 times. He's averaging better than 195, and from the looks of things, Joe continues to go strong. Congratulations to both of those gentlemen for their outstanding performances in the ABCs. Congratulations are also in order for a group of 4 impressive junior bowlers who are the recipients of the newly established Al Thompson Junior Bowling Scholarships. The scholarships are funded by Thompson, a former king of Cleveland bowlers who has competed on the PBA National Tour, did so back in the early days, then went on to become a successful proprietor and is now currently the headquarters regional director for the PBA. And while we're on the subject of passing out kudos, hats off to Brunswick Senior Vice President Jim Bennett on his election as president of the National Bowling Council. Bennett has been very active in promotion and fundraising for both the National Bowling Hall of Fame and also for the Olympic bowling movement. And that's it for this week's edition of the Bowling News from Northrock Lanes, and we're located in Wichita, Kansas, which just so happens to be the corporate headquarters of Pizza Hut, the sponsors of Bowling News. We salute them for their sponsorship, and we hope they continue to stay involved in the sport of bowling. So long, everyone, from Wichita, Kansas. Bowling News has been brought to you by Pizza Hut, makers of pan pizza that's winning the hearts of America. Pizza Hut, making it great. Curtis Odom is a man on a mission. Standing next in line, though, the defending champion, Amleto Monacelli, when we return to Northrock.
The Braves and the Orioles take on the Angels Friday night at 7:30 Eastern, live on ESPN.
And without question, they'll be rolling out the red carpet at Red Carpet Lanes in Green Bay next week for you and I, Michael. The $130,000 LaMotte Classic Thursday night live on ESPN. Let's return live now, though, to Wichita, Kansas. Northrock Lanes, PBA Player of the Year in blue, Amleto Monacelli, and the challenger, red hot, wearing red, of course, Curtis Odom.
And throwing the pink bowling ball.
There you go.
So he's got all kinds of colors going.
He is not color coordinated, is he? How would you know? You wouldn't know.
That's true.
Right.
My wife echoes that sentiment at home. Creeping high.
Oh, after the break, Curtis with a miscue leaves the 3-6-10 and kind of looks at the elbow and says, keep it tucked in there.
Turn it early. Keep it. Stay behind it longer. Got to trust it on this left lane for sure. 3-6-10. Watch how he moves to the left and throws it straighter at these spares. watch him here. Behind the ball, at the top of the swing now. It's turning early right there. You see the hand starting to go around the ball all the way too soon.
Trying to help it.
That is the death knell of a professional bowler. This guy never does that.
Well, Amleto's going to rip it, no question. And he gets ripped with the opening shot, leaves the 7-10. The right-hand lane in practice has been his tough lane, and it up and grabs him early in this one.
Certainly doesn't. He made a quality shot. Amleto with that unusual style. Pocket 7-10. He'll go hard and straight at probably the 10 pin.
Been suffering with cold and sinus the last couple of weeks. Did not deter him from shooting 2 300 games, though, at Northrock Lanes this week.
And this is your player of the year, but it's probably not the style that you would teach the junior bowlers. 5 steps. Now watch how the right shoulder opens at this point, and that ball turns, and his palm is facing you right now. And now watch the release. The arm will bend, and it's like starting a lawnmower. It's amazing.
And, a la Mike Durbin, watch his left hand. Watch the thumb go under.
Right. And that thumb turns clockwise, right on down, and he just feeds it to the right.
Comes back a little bit high, leaves the 4-pin. So Monacelli, after a tough pocket 7-10 in the first, whacks the pocket in the second, but comes up with the 4-pin.
Pulls out another ball to shoot the spare.
He was the top seed here a year ago.
I'll tell you, for a great player, he's not a great spare shooter, in my opinion. 17.7, he starts out, and it slows all the way down to 16.1. 13, he sets it on 13.5 and 15, all the way out to 7. 6 board belly. And really further than that down the lane as he got further past that 45-foot mark.
Yep.
Of course, I threw it like that all the time.
Sure. When you threw it like that, it went in the channel. Or you picked off the 10-pin. Oh, looks like Curtis might have moved a touch on the right-hand lane. Looks like it's a little more direct, but he strikes nonetheless.
He's got a marvelous reaction on that right lane. Should mention also, you know, I've been talking about Curtis taking a little bit of time, whether he's pushing that 25-second clock. He's not. He's been up to 18, maybe 20 seconds. That time he had 9 seconds to play with. So he's well within the time frame.
And for you Hoskins fans, last week we mentioned that he had been fined for going over the limit. A woman coughed in his approach, so he stopped and reset. And after discussing that with Harry Gold and then taking him to the woman who coughed and she admitted it, well, the fine
was rescinded.
There you go. Justice was served. Ooh, flirting with the 1 board was Curtis that time on lane 32, and he ends up with the 2-pin.
He's struggling. If he's struggling at all, it's on lane 31. He has just zeroed in on lane 32. High then light. It's like he's got to get that speed right and that real clean release on 31, and then it feeds to the pocket.
I don't think you can emphasize enough to the amateur players throughout the country how critical it is to get the clean release on every shot. If you don't, you never really do get lined up because your ball reaction changes constantly.
That's exactly right. You've got to make those quality shots with the ball, with that hand release, or you can't read the lane properly. Amazing. Again, it rolls out right at the pocket. That 2-pin just goes up the sideboard. There's his brother and his wife.
Rodolfo and Teresa.
And here's a good look. He's square here. Now watch the shoulders open up as he gets to the peak of the backswing. See, the hand creeps around that ball. The arm bends as it comes through. Bends right there. See it snap? Boy, you'd think that that would just play havoc with things in his arm. For the double. Yep.
Well, one thing is for sure, it plays havoc with the pins as Monacelli doubles in the 3rd and the 4th, and this one is tightened up considerably. We'll be back with more of the semifinal after this.
Talk about all-star games.
Solid 10 on the first ball. See him stick here? Watch it. It's going to fall off just before it gets there. Curtis falls 11 pins behind with an errant miss of a 10 pin.
Have to shake that off, come back, start striking once again.
Good speed.
Best way not to miss a 10 pin.
Don't leave it, right?
Now let's see what Amleto comes up with here in the 5th. After leaving the pocket 7-10 on lane 32 in the opening frame, he struck here in the 3rd.
Amleto told me, as we see the bowler vision of Curtis's last shot, pretty straight. Anyway, Amleto told me that when he plays outside that he has a tendency to drift about 8 boards to the left. And when he plays inside, it's about 4 boards. He's kind of in between here. He's about the second arrow at the arrow, even though the ball goes to the channel down the lane. So he's probably drifting about 5 or 6 boards left right now.
You can almost see him trying to breathe a little bit out of the nose. It's been clogged up for the last couple of weeks. Very difficult time indeed over the last 2 months for Amleto Monacelli.
And he makes a 10 pin. There we see 10 pins exactly.
Walter Ray Williams Jr., our top seed, trying to stay loose right now.
Walter just the exact opposite of what Amleto is. He just no belly at all. Yep. Just straight at him.
Be interesting if those two get to the title match. Huh? Boulder Track will go crazy trying to figure out where those things are coming from. Amleto with a strike in the 6th. Very nearly could have been a 4-bagger.
And as the players say, he caught all of that one. I'm telling you, his fingers looked like they were 6 inches long on that shot.
They do stay in the ball late.
Oh, it's amazing. Here we see Curtis, 10 strikes, lane 32, and he wants to make it 11 right now to get back in this match. This will tie it up.
He had a tough match with Ferraro. Sticks again, though, on the left-hand lane and leaves an assortment. And not a good group there on lane 32.
2-7-8 and a difficult spare. He's probably going to play this off his strike line, off the outside, and have the ball hook into the 2-8 and hope the 2 goes in and carries out the 7. Boy, it really surprised me that he, on his best lane, with a chance to tie the match, that he didn't respond. I don't know whether what's going through his mind now is that bowling Amleto the player of the year or what.
Tell you one thing, it'll have a bearing on the match.
Too much of the 2-pin.
Tough break, looked like an excellent try. So Curtis Odom has opened up back-to-back on lane 32 and now trails by 22, and he's running out of time.
Right, with Amleto sitting on a strike too. There we see the scoreboard, and Amleto sitting in good position right now.
Curtis trying to regroup right now.
Here it comes. Amazing. Suddenly it's turned around and he's hitting the left lane and not the right. And we see on lane 31, Amleto setting it down at 12.5 board at the arrow, swinging all the way out to 5. My goodness.
Ball's probably outside of 5 too.
And there's Odom going a board and a half, 8 to 6.5. Oh, that keeps Curtis in the match. I'll tell you what. He carries that. He's off and running. Boy, he threw that pretty too. But watch him go to the left. 5-step approach. And just a continual, steady walk to the left. Pretty straight slide. Winds up, about the 25th board. See that hand right behind the ball.
Let me ask you this. If you continue to drift to the left, is it all right if you're drifting the same number of boards every time?
Well, as long as you can rely on it, Dan. As long as you can count and know what part of the approach I'm going to drift a certain amount, and you know you're going to wind up in a certain point.
All right, another tough question. Normally, you lay the ball down 7 boards to the right of where you slide.
6 to 7 boards, depending on the player. Right?
What about a cranker?
About how far they send it down, or what?
The same?
Basically, yeah. I mean,
it's just the arc in the head, so the first 15 feet.
That's right.
All right. You live and you learn. And Amleto with a strike in the 8th. Curtis Odom right now should be thanking his lucky stars for a couple of 10 pins on 32, or he would be out of the wood right now.
And Curtis has to respond right now. If he wants to have a chance to bowl for his first title, he's got to strike on this shot and the next. Last shot he didn't swing, Danny. He needs to give this room to let it hook back. More room. Perfect.
Trying to keep the hammer alive right now. Down by 12, a strike here, and he's within striking distance.
And he's examining that rack. Boy, those eyes were just zeroing in on it. He's looking up at the score, figuring it out. He knows he has to strike on this shot. This can cut it to 2 pins and set him up for a potential 216 score.
Meanwhile, Amleto has room for 228.
Amleto's still in good position, but he still can't seem to get the strike on the right lane. Good speed, and carried it.
Curtis Odom, never say die for the kid from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He's come from behind a couple of times already this evening. Meanwhile, the player of the year trying to finish him off early.
Here it comes. And there it is. My goodness. Last game, the 7-10 in the 9th frame. This time, the Greek Church, the 4-6, 7-9, 10. And Amleto thought that was going to be flush in the pocket, and it just overreacted.
You can see him. I can't believe it. He really got a handful of that shot. You could see it. Left 10 pins the last 2 times on 32. So he might have just overcooked that one a little bit.
Ooh!
Comes up with 4 out of 5. It's not enough, though, for the spare.
Here we see the first shot. Watch how far Amleto goes to the left. Boy, that eye's riveted on that target. See how far he is left in that ball. About the 13th board, 12th board, out to maybe the 1st or 2nd, and he's rooting it in, and he winds up with 5. Back to live.
10th frame action, and no luck for the player of the year, and his best possible score now would be 186.
And Curtis Odom is only going to need a mark in the 10th frame to go on to bowl Walter Ray Williams Jr. Again, how fast it turns around on one pivotal shot. Boy, that 9th frame just means so much to these players to set it up for the 10th.
Do you think Amleto added a little more juice, Mike, after leaving a couple of 10 pins in the 5th and the 7th?
Well, Amleto's the type of player that puts it all on every shot, Denny, and this one just happened to grab a little bit quicker, and, you know, it was 1 revolution. If that ball makes 1 less revolution, it's 10. Instead, it was 5.
Trying to fill out and shoot 186. For a guy who averaged 220 plus all week long, that doesn't sound like much. 185 for the defending champion. Now he'll have to sit back and hope for the best.
Curtis Odom, who's had 2 opens on lane 32 in this game, now needs some kind of spare or strike to move on to bowl for his first title.
Curtis missed the 10 pin in the 4th and left the 287 in the 6th. I think you're right, though. He needs to give it a little swing area here on the right-hand lane. He's had a beautiful reaction on 32 all night.
Keep the speed up.
Inside his mark.
And that's what happens.
Yep. Oh, you could see that was definitely inside. A couple of boards.
A couple of boards. That's that early turn, not willing to trust it, and not the lift on the fingers.
2-8 remains. Not an easy spare conversion.
But he's had practice, and when he left the 2-7-8, he should know exactly where to stand and where to aim to make this spare dent. He's going to play it off the strike line. And he missed it.
In disbelief, Amleto Monacelli is a winner, 185 to 182. And for a young man who's had a lot of tough breaks on television, Monacelli gets one handed to him on a silver platter. Disappointment written all over Curtis Odom's face. You can see him right now in a state of shock. And show is Amleto Monacelli, although he moves on to the championship game when we return to Northrock and Wichita. He beats Midas. Nobody. And let's start match number 1. Curtis Odom in the ninth.
And he, with a strike here, he took a 15-pin lead and virtually ensured that he was going to win the match. Playing right around the first arrow. Boy, he comes up on that toe. When he swings it out like that, he got the good reaction. The ball wound up in the pocket. And this one was all 10 pins in the pit, Denny. His reaction, very calm.
As he eliminated Jay Burgess in the opening game, 235 to 202, and started to get lined up on the championship round pair 31 and 32 as we move on to further action. Match number 2. Once again, it was Curtis Odom. This time, however, the pressure pack strike came in the 10th frame against Dave Ferraro.
And he needed the double in the 10th. He already had the first one. This one was for the win. Ferraro, who bowled an outstanding match, wound up with 229. Curtis says he had most of the night over that first arrow, winding up dead flush again in the 1-3. His reaction, not calm at all this time.
Because he knew he had just defeated the Firestone Tournament of Champions champ Ferraro, 233 to 229. But fortune was smiling at that point. However, the semifinal game rolls around, and unfortunately for Curtis Odom, it's a spare miss in the 10th that cost him a shot at the title.
And watch, he throws it further to the right, and he throws it slower. And the ball grabs instantly, right now. And right now we know he's in trouble, big trouble. Because you see that ball heading to the left of that spare, and it's hooking. His reaction, please, oh, that one will be hard to forget then.
Well, so close and yet so far. 185 to 182. As now it'll be Amleto Monacelli and Walter Ray Williams. Championship frame has been brought to you by Midas and its dealers across the country. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody. The current PBA Player of the Year, a former PBA Player of the Year, a pair of heavyweights ready to really throw the leather here in Wichita when we return. $30,000 in a pot o' gold here if you win the $130,000 Wichita Open. A beautiful trophy and a marvelous ring. A gold ring with a half-carat diamond lodged in it to our champion. One of these two gentlemen will be sizing that ring up here within the next 15 minutes. Will it be the top seed Walter Ray? He's 0-7 from that spot, or the Player of the Year, Amleto Monacelli.
I find it interesting, too, that Walter has chosen to finish on the right lane when Amleto's had the best success on the left lane. So he's going to let Amleto finish over there. He must not like the left lane this much.
Comes out and absolutely rips the cover off the first shot and leaves the 4-pin. Boy, did he throw that hard.
I'd like to see what the speed on that one was, I'll tell you.
Nolan Ryan. Although it only shows up at 18.3. That ball rolled out a little bit. Looked like about 25 plus, didn't it?
It did, but it wasn't as hard as we thought it was.
And the Walter Ray Williams Express rolls down the lane.
And we see 18.3 down to 17.1. And you can see that he's not hooking it at all. He's setting it down at 4. It gets to 1 about halfway down the lane, and then at 45 feet, it's already back to 8. Well, Amleto caught all of that one, I'll tell you.
I will tell you this much. You give this guy a second chance, and you got some problems.
Man can throw strikes. He's just amazing how much he can hook that ball and control it week after week. This is his 8th championship round appearance this year. He made 11 last year. It's just, he's had a phenomenal year and a half here, or year and 3 quarters. All right, Brooklyn.
And right now, Walter Ray is saying, uh-oh. Of course, we might point out at this point in time that Amleto and Walter Ray are doubles partners.
Roll the PBA doubles in Las Vegas together every year. Walter takes no time. Ball held for him pretty good there. I thought it was going to creep high. And
how could it go high?
Walter, 5-step player, very free swing. Watch his left arm comes all the way behind his back, and he just rips through it as hard as he can. Now watch this, Denny. The swing comes back. Now he'll tuck it in right there. Left hand comes all the way behind his back. I don't even know how he can do that. For the double, and he gets it.
An aggressive shot for Walter Ray Williams Jr., who has bowled in 8 title matches since he won in 1987, since he last won. So he's got a string of 8 losses in title games.
Oh. Boy, that's
much too long for a good player.
One more. Amleto's in that groove, but he did have a very fortunate strike in the second frame on lane 31. Let's see what kind of adjustment he makes. He can't swing it too much more. It'll go into that gray board down there. Slows down a mile per hour, and he's bellying about 5.5 boards there on the right lane, and more than that on the left.
What I want to know is who lines up off of who in the doubles?
That's right, yeah.
Huh?
The people they're crossing with, that's who they line up for.
Oh, this one's got some room. Amleto Monacelli with the first 4 in the title game, giving no slack whatsoever to his partner. Only player on the PBA Tour to have won better than $100,000 4 consecutive years. The last 4 years well under that mark this season. However, another rifle shot from the corner, and Walter Ray says, right at you, pal.
He was looking at that 10-pin, but he snapped it out. He also said that this week he's had the best carry. Now, this ball swung about 2 boards more than the last one. Watch the 6-pin. He said his carry's been the best this week of any time that he can remember since 1987 at Edmond. This one to get even. Should mention that he finished 2nd just last week in the World Horseshoe Pitching Championships. He doesn't want to finish 2nd here.
Last week he was pitching for ringers. Now he's pitching for strikes, and obviously doing the job. This one's even Steven, but Amleto has yet to shoot in the 5th.
Amleto, who concentrates extremely well, has this tremendous physical regimen that he goes through every single day.
He's also averaging nearly 250 on this pair throughout the week, although he shot 185 in the semifinal game. Is it 5 in a row?
I think he's figured it out.
Just needed a game to get lined up.
Wow. 5 in a row and 4 in a row. That's why they're number 1 and 2, huh?
Gonna say you're probably right. Walter Ray won his last 7 matches last night to lock up that number 1 position.
Won't make it. 2-8. Teresa looks on. Rodolfo knows that he didn't quite get the lift on that one that he had been. It'd be interesting to me, anyway, to see if Amleto hooks the ball at this spare or throws it straight. See there, he bellied it.
8 boards.
Boy.
Well, the 2-8 was the downfall for Odom.
He's hooking it at it. And a downfall for Amleto. Boy. And for also Jay Burgess. We've had that spare miss 3 times tonight in tonight's telecast alone.
All right, you know what that tells me?
What does it tell you, Dad?
Next week's average builder
is the 2-8.
There you go. Ahead by 4. Oh, my. Walter Ray is beside himself, and that one squared up in a hurry.
Wow. Had the chance to put the hammer on him. Watch the 5 in the headpin. The 5 just never got to the 7. Died on the deck. Walter will fire at one of them at the 7. Whoa. What are you going to do? He threw it right in there. We got a 10-pin match with 4 frames to go.
Well, even the best home run hitter in the world fouls one off once in a while. It's a good shot.
Excellent shot. Just not his fault. But he wanted to take advantage of that open so badly. Back in the pocket, little light, leaves the 4-pin.
Tell you what I do like him. Amleto bowling an outstanding game. Walter Ray being very aggressive here in the title match.
Very aggressive.
He's going down swinging.
16 telecasts since 1987, no wins.
I won't forget.
Trouble.
Oh, you could go a long time before you ever see that happen again. Walter Ray missing a single pin spare.
Switched balls, threw it dead straight, and it backed up. I mean, it actually backed up. It hit the thumb hole right now. You could hear it rolling over it. And he's just, back-to-back opens. Oh. Suddenly, from all strikes, now everything's going wrong.
Incredible what happens out here under the pressure of a championship game. The solid 8. Amleto leaves on the right-hand lane.
And again, Amleto just missed the 2-8 by hooking the ball at it. He'll probably throw it straight at this 8-pin, but I've seen him miss spares like this in the past. Dead center. He says, why did I throw it like that at the 2-8? I would have made it.
Oh, this one has turned around a couple of times. Now 21 pins, the lead for Monacelli as he enters the 8th frame. Walter Ray realizing that, 0-9. It's an ugly thought.
And realizing maybe, too, that last week the key frame was Steve Hoskins missing the 4-pin.
It's not that hard, is it?
It shouldn't be.
The windup and the pitch. And the silent 7-pin for Amleto in the 8th frame.
Walter's still alive, barely breathing, but the corpse has still got a little oxygen there in the coffin.
And you can see the look on his face. Oh, so tough in these title matches, especially when you do make a mental mistake like that, because it's so hard to get there. You hate not to take advantage. A pair of perfectos this week. Shoots the left-hand spare from the left side. Don't ask me why, but it's a spare up in the 8th for Monacelli.
2 big frames coming up for Walter Ray right now. He still has a potential score of 235. Amleto going into 225 pace right now if he would go strike spare out.
More lift.
And more direct. Right at him. Biggest shot of the week coming up for him right now, though, Dan. If he wants to win, he's got to strike here. Amleto is looking at it that if Walter doesn't strike, he has an opportunity to be our leading money winner if he wins this tournament. Go around Chris Warren.
$20,000 the first place check in this year's Wichita Open.
Here it comes. Oh, and leaves that 10. Boy, oh boy. Now he has to hope that Amleto makes some kind of mistake.
Well, you take a look at the game that Walter Ray has bowled. Did not miss the pocket. Did nothing but throw good shots. But the ever elusive carry just wasn't there. Is it not there because he tightens up? Is it not there because the conditions different?
It can be any one of those factors. I don't think the conditions different. He came out and threw strikes and threw the ball in the pocket.
Plenty of room. Ooh, boy, solid 8, solid 10. Let me out of here. I got to go home.
It's going to make him mark in the 10th frame to lock him out. He's got to make this and mark in the 10th.
How much better can you throw it? I mean, he's wheeling and dealing, Michael, on this championship round pair and coming up with 9 counts.
Especially on lane 32. He's really solved that lane. No trouble. Now he's saying one more good shot, and he's got his 8th title.
And he repeats.
And he repeats. Becomes leading money winner.
Big night.
And a candidate again for Player of the Year. Ooh, the 4-9 for a long time. He holds his hand out and says, safe. All right, I can make the 9 pin. That's what he needs to do. He needs to make the 9 pin.
Big deep breath. Make the 9. Notch another title.
No trouble. He needs 3 pins, Denny.
Amleto has already looked at the scoreboard, realizes what he needs.
See if he just throws it straight down the middle of the lane. That's basically what he did.
Well, they're doubles partners, but right now Amleto Monacelli stands alone as the winner of the Wichita Open. We'll be back right after this.